Welcome to the Lifestyle Chase. This podcast features high performers who have found a way to live their best life while balancing their health, wellness, friends, and family. Proudly hosted by me, Chris Little. Without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to the Lifestyle Chase, episode 31 with Graham and Jessica Doody. How are you both doing today?
Doing well. Yeah, doing good.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little energized, a lot of coffee, and
Yeah, me too.
a lot to say probably, yeah.
What's your favorite way to have your coffee?
Heavy cream.
Yeah.
No sugar ever.
Yeah, I'm the same there, no sugar.
Yeah.
I change a lot. I'll go through phases where it's just a couple of shots of espresso with a little bit of water. Mm-hmm. And then phases where I'll load it up with grass-fed butter and MCT oil. And then other times where I just join Jess and just do full-fat cream.
Nice.
So
nice.
it just kind of depends on the mood I'm in.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I want you both, each one at a time, to take me through your busiest day that you have on a typical week. So you go first, Graham.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Jess will outdo me here. Busy. Usually it'll start early. I'm usually up early. I work early. So it's like today, coach the 6 a.m. class. So I'm up at 4:30 getting ready. So I'll prepare, different kinds of busy, but I'll do my food prep because I like it fresh, somewhat fresh. So I'll get up at 4:30, kind of start my day. Food prep, off to the gym, open the gym, coach from 6 till 2. And that's 5 classes. A workout in there. This past year has been a lot of rowing. If I get a window of an hour or so between kind of a break in the morning. And then we're at the phase of life, so that'll go till about 2, and then there's a lot of connecting with people in the gym and maybe some jobs that need to get done or some extra work I have. So some days that part of my day will end at 2, and then I'll have a little bit of extra, say, programming work to do. And then we're at the phase of life where it's not necessarily work-related, but then at night we have teenage kids, so our teenage daughters, so whether it's soccer happening or theater, or maybe there's still some programming or something I've got to take care of at night. So some days it's there's little windows in our day. We're fortunate that way, but it's really kind of things start at 4:30 and we shut it down at like 9 p.m. and hit the pillow and go to bed.
Nice.
Yeah.
How many hours of sleep do you aim for typically?
Oh man, I love these topics. I love that topic. 7, minimum 7, and I'm becoming more and more of a sleep advocate. I have been for a few years because I used to take a lot of pride in going on like 4.5, 5.5, and in fact, in my early 20s, we trained and raced a lot and racing triathlon and stuff, and as a shift worker back then in my last career. So now I can look back and really see where that fell apart, that we can do that, but we're not optimized. So even on a day like today where I'm up at 4:30, again, family life and life dictates that I can't always get in bed by 9:30 and be sleeping. So I'll give up a little sleep on a night like last night, knowing that tonight I'll probably get 7, 8. Not that I'm trying to catch up, but I track my sleep for the week and I look at how many hours I'll get in a week and kind of just watch patterns, but usually it's 7 at a minimum.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah.
Do you have any sort of rules that you set for yourself or routines to sort of get to sleep?
I'm bad with rules. It's funny because I hate rules, but I like routines because routines I don't have to think about. So routines, if they serve me, I see them as different than rules because then they're free. Mm-hmm. So I try to kind of I do this stuff that most people probably do. I start to, when I'm getting tired, I know that our dogs have to get let out and we have to lock up the house. But the big ones are for us, and just kind of brush teeth and get ready for bed. But I try to, ideally, if it's a good night, I'm reading a book before bed. I'm not on my phone reading headlines, which I can follow into very easily, just getting on Google or getting on YouTube or whatever I'm into. So it's usually as soon as possible, dimming the lights or getting the lights down. It's quiet. Jess and I talk or whatever, and then just crawl into bed and maybe read a bit. And then now that I'm not a shift worker anymore, generally by the time it's lights out, I'm asleep within 5 minutes, which is a gift.
Nice.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, your turn.
Every single day is so different for me, but I'd say The busiest days are days where I'm at the gym. So same sort of shift, 6 to 2, or tonight I'll be there 4 till like 9 or 10. But when you own your own business, as you know, there's always more I can be doing. So we're actually going into a really busy phase right now. It's the CrossFit Open. So we'll be hosting events each week, and I could, fall asleep answering people's emails or requests to me all day long, but so I'm either on my computer, rushing my kids somewhere, thinking about laundry or food, or physically at work or with a client, and it just sort of packs my days full for sure. But like Graham, I sleep like a baby, so.
Perfect.
Yeah.
What's been the most exciting day of your past year? If you could pick one day.
Ooh, well, I actually went back this year to school to do my master's of entrepreneurship and innovation. So that was a big leap because I've been my own boss for so long. It felt really vulnerable to like apply to something and see if they want me, and then have to fit into this group of like master students, feeling like I was probably one of the older students. And I'd say getting on the plane to go to Queens, which is where the program's held, was really a really exciting day for me, because it's like, I'm all in, I'm doing this, and I was really excited about it. So
totally.
Yeah.
I find with like steps like that, we often like talk ourselves out of them. If you could describe 3 things you were saying to yourself, talking yourself out of it, what would they be?
Oh God, I had lots. This is a lot of money. Is this really going to be worth it? Why am I doing this again? It just felt really scary. Like, it felt out of my comfort zone. I think I came back from the first boot camp just being like, as exciting and awesome as it was, I was also like feeling all this like social, do I fit in?
Yeah.
And I hadn't felt that in so many years. So there was some of that talk. But, I'm pretty good with mental talk. Like, I try and bring it around and know that everything's happening for a reason. So I was able to walk myself through all those, like, little worries and stresses. But I had someone say to me before I signed up for that, everything, or the best things I've ever done in my life always started with me going, what the hell am I doing? And that really reassured me, because I was like, I'm feeling exactly that. It must be a good step. So yeah, so I always have that in the back of my head.
And having done that now, how would you motivate somebody else to do the exact same thing? Somebody that kind of feels like they could make a next step, but they're too scared to.
I would say, like, if it doesn't feel a stretch or scary, it's probably not big enough. Like, I was thinking about that right now. I'm applying for a few positions at various companies and stuff. And the ones that I'm the most scared about, like, can I really do that? I think that I'm on track, versus the ones that I know I can do, and I'd probably be bored in like a couple months, because, it would just be too easy. So I think for anyone thinking about a big decision, if it doesn't feel scary, you're probably playing too small.
Totally. I agree.
Yeah.
So now we're going to take it back to high school years, because I ask a lot of my guests kind of what kind of a student or person they were in high school. So let's start with you, Graham.
Oh, let's see. I had, at the time I was on a swim team, so I had some really close friends that almost on a team like that, we'd grown up since we were younger together. So I really, had friends outside that group, but mainly it was the handful of us that were at the same school that were on the team. And so I was fortunate to have some really close friends during that time. But I wasn't on any of the school teams or anything. So school for me was, we spent before school and after school a lot of days just at the pool. So school was something that, I didn't love school. In fact, I didn't really love school until university, until I started to find myself in classes that I found really interesting. So school was a lot of times waiting till Friday, Saturdays so that I could get to the mountains, to be honest. I enjoyed high school. Unfortunately, well, not even unfortunately, because it's made me, I am who I am, but, I was probably like a lot of teenage guys that just liked kind of high risk stuff. And so I had a lot of fun. At the same time, though, high school is also, looking back, what's I think great about 40 and every year past high school is you know yourself a little better. You're more secure in your skin. Are content just to be you. So you're not kind of shaped as much by peer pressure and stuff. Overall, I had a really good high school experience.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's good.
And so your plan going out of high school, because everybody has like their plan of what they're going to take or all that. How does that differentiate with what you do now?
That's a good question. I couldn't have seen myself doing what I do now, to be honest. It wasn't really a thing. One of my ideas leaving high school was to work in the mountains in mountain rescue. And I was just a kid that liked to snowboard and ski and stuff. And then I fell in love. And then I started to piece together, even as a young guy, well, that looks tough, because I can live in mountain towns and stuff. But if I'm falling in love with this girl, what's that look like? And I like to be active. Again, I like stuff like phys ed. But there was no such thing as small little boutique gyms or training gyms or CrossFit gyms. There was probably personal trainers and coaches. But so I guess the related, my idea, I got into U of A, took phys ed and the phys ed track, and I didn't really know any different, so that was kind of the kickstart. And then years later, through meeting people and taking jobs in the industry and starting to train and coach and manage rec centers or fitness departments, it's kind of evolved to where it is now. But I did not have a clear vision that one day I'll own with my wife, we'll one day own a small little business, and I'll have some clients on the side that I program from a desk or cafe. That wasn't something I ever saw.
Yeah, it's cool how life works out that way.
Yeah, big time.
What about you? What's your story?
High school?
Yeah.
That was a really long time ago. I've always, the theme of my life, I bite off more than I can chew, and it was no different back then. I was in drama, I played sports, I, like to party and do all that stuff as anyone does. I think the biggest thing, the difference is back then I grew up in a really religious family, and I felt really confined about what my life could be based on how they had brought me up. And a lot of that revolved around gender and, what was expected of each. And I think as I grew older and I gave myself permission to sort of break out of those stereotypes, then things started to open up. But prior to that, I felt really I'm going to be a mom, I guess. And, I didn't give that much thought to career. I chose a university program really based on just what I found interesting, not what I thought might happen after. And same as Graham, it's just sort of evolved. I've really followed my passions, and things have grown. And I found a passion in business and small business and startups. And then I was like, gee, let's do your biz. So that's how we ended up where we are now. But I think you're so young in high school, and I think it's hard to see where things can go, but you just have to sort of trust the process of life and who you meet and what you study, and you'll learn and grow, and you'll be where you're meant to be eventually. So
totally. I think it's interesting because in a lot of cases when I talk to people, who they were in high school, it's different from who they are now, but there's still a lot of correlations. Usually the things that they really liked the very, very most come back to them when they start following their passion. Yeah. And I think it's neat. It's almost, especially in today's society where being an entrepreneur becomes the popular thing or the easier to do thing, a lot more people are doing it. And they're motivated to do it by following their passion, or at least making the thing that they enjoy doing the most be something that provides them income. And when we get closer to the things that we enjoy the most, I think it's really good for mental health, which is huge, because I think that's something that is something we have to actively battle because of just society, social media, different jobs, all that stuff. So many things that make us less capable of sort of battling those mental battles, just like we battle physical battles. At one point you were a firefighter, right?
Yeah.
So what kind of inspired you to go into that?
Let's see. Well, I was I think at the time I was really looking to be part of a team with guys. So in junior high school, I'd wanted to be a fireman. And then I sort of, as time went on, I thought, well, I don't know if that's a good career to have. Also, why I'm, as a family man. So I worked, like I said, I came out of school and I was working in recreation and phys ed and fitness. But then I just, fire for whatever reason came back into my mind. I don't know. I kind of forget why now. But yeah, I was a fireman with the city of Edmonton for 11 years. And it was wonderful because at that time it was, I found just what I was looking for. It was a tight team. So it's kind of just talking about high school. I was back having close people that I really enjoyed being with and got to know. And so yeah, it was wonderful.
Do you find that you're still close with a lot of the people that were
on
your squad?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm fortunate because some of them still go to the gym. And, and I keep in touch. Edmonton's a small city. So, even the guys that they may not train or I don't see them through that for that reason, we catch up for, Sunday morning waffles or breakfast or whatever, coffee. And actually I try, we talk about this and I do like to have, I really care strongly about maintaining those friendships that are not gym related. Just because, some of these guys I've known for over 10 years. I know their families, they know mine. So, yeah, so I'm still fortunate to be really close to them.
I always think about, emergency services, whether it be, paramedics or firefighters or policemen or, even nurses. Mm-hmm. They have to deal with so much stuff.
Yeah.
Myself, I think I'd have trouble because I am a major empath. I feel like I would get too attached to some of the emergency situations. What are some of the strategies that you had to do being a firefighter for so long? Because I'd imagine it had some struggles.
You know what, it does. And so you brought up sleep. There's a lot, and I'm sure it's a podcast. There's probably several podcasts out there on this stuff for first responders because it's a certain lifestyle. So what you see, there's a real fun side to it and a thrilling side to it. But there's also very much a human side to it where, yeah, you do come across people at their worst. And you are trained. So over time, you're trained to deal with that stuff. And you're reminded, you didn't cause it. You're just there to help. And so but there's definitely triggers. So, certain things will affect one person on a crew worse than they'll affect another. Maybe they're close to home for a reason. There's counseling. So there's debrief sessions after bad calls. A crew can be requested that a specialist, a counselor comes and has some time to sit down with the crew and walk through the events, so just to get them talking. One of the biggest ones, and I cherish it, the times we had, but laughter is really used. So and that's the dark humor side that until you've really kind of experienced it, there's a reason why, stuff, it's just a way of coping. It's a way for guys to talk and feel that they can be vulnerable in a safe situation. Because what you said, a lot of firemen and people as a lot of first responders, they are also empaths. So they're there because they care. And so you might have a real bravado or sense of bravado, but there is a genuine sense as well within those services to provide care.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so a lot of what you see is terrible. So the sleep, now there's more and more attention being paid to sleep. There's more attention being paid to physical fitness. There's more attention being paid to, everything that's going to help a human being to be healthy. So coping strategies, even in some cases, breath work, meditation, physical training. So we had a health and wellness department on the job. And so the guys create and deliver modules here in Edmonton and in North America. Most departments have this, but to different degrees. Edmonton's got a great program running and, a great lead on it. And so they'll create modules for the guys that seem relevant. If it is, okay, let's create a sleep module. Let's create a module on how to lift safely, anything related to health. Yeah.
That's awesome. And it's good to be so proactive about this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A lot of what I see is social media has taken over people's perception of being in a community, whereas I think we need to start getting and interacting with people more, which is what is so valuable about like group fitness or CrossFit or anything like that, because it sort of
absolutely.
structures
Yeah.
a community.
Yes.
And at least once a week, but in a lot of cases more than once a week,
Yeah.
people are getting together and they're talking about life and they're
Yeah.
feeling emotions, and people have bad days and you just work through it.
Yeah.
And people that are deprived of that, it sucks, because like I can see it, it's very apparent that there's a difference in a person who has that community support and the person who neglects that in their life.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like if you don't go to the gym and train and do resistance training and all this stuff, you're going to lose these capabilities and skills. And if you don't go and train your mental health and work on your relationships and have your non-negotiables, then that stuff kind of, you lose it a little bit, which sucks. Like there's
Absolutely.
mental health is on like the increase in the amount of like struggles we're facing. Like it's not the same as when people were in like their old shacks with no internet and stuff, and you get on your bike or you get the horses all rigged up and you go to the neighbor's house. Like it's a different world.
It is, yeah. Often we don't have to rely on people the same way. In the fire service you do, and therefore you become really close.
Yeah.
You know, and you're bang on. A lot of times you'll see in a gym setting over time, as people start to feel more and more comfortable, so they show up completely as themselves. They can be vulnerable, so if they can come in and admit, listen, you know, they might say to a coach or just have close friends now that they can confide in. So a lot of days it really is about the workout, and then a lot of times it's not. You know, it's just beneficial for them to be there around other people that they can talk to or listen or just be quiet and sit with.
Absolutely. That's the beauty of fitness.
Yeah.
And like the sort of a lot of the things that I value the most are community oriented. Like I tend to stick around like the spin communities.
Yeah.
I've kept in touch with a lot of people from Forged.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like my first guest was Blake Fillion.
Yeah, nice.
So that's always fun.
Cool.
Yeah, it's just regardless of how you find your fitness, because I think that's a major one to hit home, because as long as people are safe and they're going to be able to do it for years, it doesn't matter how they do fitness. Just do it. Be active, be happy. But have like other people that you align with. Don't do it by yourself if you can avoid it, because there's so much to gain from it.
There is, yeah. You know, I think too there's a need to appreciate the blend. Like some people seek to go internal and get into a flow state, and that means quiet.
Yeah.
You know, but I think too that for that person, if at least there's one or two buddies once in a while they can call in, or they do have access to a group once in a while, I think what you're saying is bang on. It's really important, because it can become really isolating on the flip side, where it's no longer doing what it used to do for somebody, you know. So I think some form of social contact when we train and exercise is really beneficial.
Totally. I agree. Our next topic is going to be parenthood.
Cool.
So I'm going to start with you, Jessica.
Sure.
Before going into parenthood, what were your thoughts? Was it scary? Kind of same thing as like doing your jump and getting the further education. Talk me through the thoughts before and then after.
There were really no thoughts. No, I'm just kidding. Like there were a few thoughts. Graham and I
Not a lot though.
both knew we always wanted kids.
Yeah.
And I tend to throw myself into things. Like we both have a very short like idea to action phase.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
very short. So when we decided we wanted kids, well, like the next month we were pregnant, pretty much.
Efficient.
And we were young, so I was 25 when I had my first. And it was really life-changing in so many ways, but at the same time, when you have your kids that young, most of your friends don't have kids, you do realize, like, life just goes on. You just bring those little munchkins and you bring them along with you, and life doesn't have to end. And in fact, it makes life a lot richer because there's these little things you love more than yourself, which really in life, that's the only time that's going to happen, where you actually love something more than yourself.
Yeah.
And it's pretty, I feel lucky that we got it going early. So now I feel like a lot of things for us are coming more to a peak, like career-wise, and our kids are a little bit older, more independent, and we're still young enough to do a lot of things and like, you know, go hike a mountain with our kids versus
Totally.
feeling like we're sort of stuck home with toddlers or whatever. So, you know, I think however you choose to do it, it works out for you. But I feel like we were lucky in that regard. But no, not too much thought given to that one, Chris.
That's fair.
Yeah.
What about you, Graham?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I you know, this may sound cliche, but I think, you know, honestly, if my gut says it's a good thing, I usually go. And so this for me felt like it was just, of course, it feels natural. Let's do this. And I do really think, I mean, I have some viewpoints on this, but I think we can really think ourselves into paralysis. And you're never, my opinion is, like, kids is not meant, it's not meant to be a perfect, easy ride. You know, so we were providing for ourselves, and, you know, we had love, and, you know, and it just felt right. So, and it's been wonderful. We have a close friend that just told us he's pregnant. Him and his wife are pregnant, and so she's pregnant. And man, I'm thrilled when I hear that. Like, it's the deepest, most satisfying joy that I experience, and I do a lot of fun stuff, I think, personally. So, but you know, like even your question earlier, tell us about the highest high. Like, a lot of mine are actually some really fantastic thrills, or watching some of the things that my kids are getting into for themselves. You know, so yeah, there wasn't a time with Jess. It just felt right, and go.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's funny because we often think, like you said, we have to have all our ducks in a row to do X, Y, Z, and then I'll do whatever. With the kids, like, we were so young. We were living in our own basement suite, like renting out the top, renovating. We had no shower at the time when I had Ava, and we had started a window cleaning business, so we were pushing her, knocking doors, you know, and I wouldn't even change it. It's like, it's been such a fun, like, crazy ride that, you know, you just go with it.
And I like the whole, like, follow your gut thing, because that's been, like, a reoccurring theme with a lot of my guests. Like, most of their advice, like, you know, just follow your gut. And then I think about, like, my own experiences, and I've been like, financially or logistically it didn't quite make sense, but my gut said to do it, and I'm still good. So my gut's right.
You're still there.
Yeah.
And that, I think that takes practice. It can start to be really difficult at times to, what's my intuition telling me? What's my gut telling me? I don't know. So I think it takes practice, but generally it does steer us in the right direction.
Totally.
I think,
My next topic is going to be role models. You're each going to sort of list off and describe 3 role models in your life that have sort of shaped how things have played out. So we'll start with you, Graham.
Oh, that's a biggie.
You know, I have one, if I think back to early days, I have an aunt that's pretty special, and she was quite a bit younger than my mom, so she's my mom's sister. And she just exposed me to a lot of cool stuff with her husband at the time, and you know, like, so we were in the mountains a lot, and she's the one I really learned to ski with, and they took me mountain biking, and we just go on cool trips. And so she's really unique. She's very, in fact, her and Jess are great friends. Like, she's very artistic and creative, and just a superhuman being. So I'd say her, and from a really young age, obviously. And then a second would be a swim coach I had from, like, the age of, through probably 5 years or so, like 8 till 13, named Dale McMillan, and he was a high school teacher and a swim coach, and just a great man, a great role model. You know, I have really good parents too. I'm close to them, but so I consider these people separate because they've served more as a mentor role. You know, my mom and dad did too, but so I'd say him, and that was really like Dale's thing. He was a hard coach and a strict coach, and ownership was a big deal looking back. Not that he ever said the word ownership, but it's a big theme that I buy into, and you know, I value him and being around him as a young guy too. The kind of guy that I wanted to be better around. And then a third one is a friend to this day, so I don't see him as much anymore, but in my early 20s, I was fortunate out of my university program to go and work at the Derrick and manage the fitness center there, and then started training there and had other opportunities, and I met a lot of really kind families. And so one is a guy named Keith, a good friend named Keith Bassnett, and so I've known him for close to 20 years now. And you know, and you know, we have the kind of friendship where I can check in with him once a year, and you know, it's like we, you know, no time has passed. And but I also, when I met him, he was probably my age now, and I was in my early 20s, so he would have been early 40s. But I respected how he lived. I really respected how he had 3 daughters, or has 3 daughters, and he's just a real family man. And he had a successful business and kept fit. And so we trained together. I coached him, and we raced triathlon and stuff. We traveled to Hawaii to train, and just again a great solid man that I look up to and respect. So those would be my 3.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Your turn.
I still am deciding though, but honestly, like one of my first role models was a professor I had in university, and she was just everything I wanted to be. She was fit, she was really smart, really pulled together, and it was my first real professional female role model that I thought like, oh, there's a picture of what things can be. And then I had a mentor. I did some coach training, and her name's Martha Beck. You may have heard of her, but I got to learn and work under her life coaching, and she really talked so much about just following your gut and what your life is teaching you. Just listen to that and show up for that. Her teachings and curriculum really changed my life a lot. And then I would say Graham's one of my role models. Like, he's my best friend too, but we really rely on each other, and we're so good at different things that he would always be the first person I go to for advice, like beyond just day-to-day stuff. If I really needed good, solid, like, head check, he'd be my guy. So
That's perfect.
yeah.
Such a good match. And a great segue for the next one. We're going to do sort of an activity.
Sure.
So, you guys have been quite the team. I want you each to describe 5 qualities that make the other person a good part of the team. So, you're going to describe 5 qualities of her that make her, like, unstoppable on your team, and vice versa.
Okay. Start with me?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yay.
5. Yes. Well, a huge thing is Jess is very smart. So she's very, and I'm not just saying that. She's very solution oriented and just sees things differently. She thinks differently. And I've always loved that. When I fell for her when we were young, like we were 17, 18, and literally partying, I could tell right away she was really bright. And so there's that. She's also really adaptable. So as we've taken on projects and done stuff from a young age, you know, Jess is just really willing to go with the flow and adjust and course correct as needed. And that's actually a lot trickier. We hear that, but in times of stress, that can be a tough thing to do.
Yeah.
And so she's also incredibly optimistic. So again, when you're dealing with just life, and nobody escapes it, you know, so the ability to always stay positive. It doesn't mean you're not going to be sad and we're not going to feel emotion that we're meant to feel, but just to be able to, it's okay, we're going to rally, this is all right, you know, that didn't happen, this will, or so that's a really big thing. And just to the 4th one, she's very multi-talented, so it's unique because I consider myself quite honed in on what I like to do and where my skills lie, and Jess could do what I do and then 50 other things really well. So, and I'm not, again, having seen her work on many, many projects, it's almost a challenge because she can work in so many different areas, whereas I can't. I do only a few things quite well. Jess can do a lot of things really well. And then just kindness. So I've loved, she's just really kind, and that's a tremendous gift.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
It is.
We're turning the table. Your turn.
So Graham and I are really alike in a lot of ways, but really different. And this is part of where he's my role model. But Graham is so focused. So if he sets his mind to something, like, you know it's going to happen. And it's incredible. Like, he's very goal-oriented that way. Graham is makes everyone feel special. So there are always people clamoring to talk to Graham because, as you can see, just how he talks, it's like you're talking to like this Zen. Like he has that effect on people. I don't always
feel that way, but thanks.
And so when I'm all wound up in my, anxiety or ideas or whatever, Graham's just like, he grounds me that way. So that's one of his best skills too. He's really surprising in that he's also has this wild side. So he'll be the first one to like jump off any cliff or like throw himself into anyone. So he's kind of like the super calm and then the super like, oh my God, what is he doing? Like you'll have to ask him about his breath holds after. But yeah, he's so good with people and with the kids. He's a really great dad and with people in general. And I'd say he's really conscientious. So recently I learned about sort of the ideal team that you have, and you've got like a numbers person and you've got a systems person, you've got an ideas like pushing the bar. But a really key part of any team is the person who at the end of the day is like, how's this affecting everyone? And that's Graham. Like he's really conscientious and he never lets us get far from, but how are we taking care of people, whether that's in our business or in our family? And that's a really big value that he brings.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's important. Like we don't often think about like perspective and being able to take a step back and consider all the other like gears in the machine kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So that's good.
Yeah.
You both have traveled a fair bit, I think. Am I right? How many countries in total?
Ooh. I don't know.
No idea.
A rough count, like over 10, over 20.
Yeah, I think about
probably
maybe
over 10.
I feel like I was on a really good roll when I was younger.
Yeah.
And then life picked up, and I really have this sense that we'll travel a lot more as we get older again. We're just starting to travel again more, or speaking personally, I guess. Yeah, probably over 10. When I was 18, I had just had this dream of going away and surfing, and so I'd saved through grade 12, worked at a gas station, then a casino, and I was able to punch a ticket, and I went and backpacked and hitchhiked around Australia. And so that was the first of several trips at that time, but again, it was before kids and stuff. And actually Jess came and joined me on that trip. And that was a trip of like trying to live off nothing and surfing and just kind of meeting people. And so now our trips, they're not as far reaching typically, but definitely love to travel.
Mm-hmm.
And see
what
places.
was the most life-changing trip that you ever went on?
Well, I don't know if a lot of people know that. Well, some people know that. I spent 2 years in Asia, in the Philippines. And that was a remarkable trip. And it was for a different purpose. I was there in a lifetime ago. I was Mormon. So I was there on a Mormon mission. And that trip becomes much more than that mission. And at the time, I had an incredible experience, because you get really close with the people you're working with and then working for, and you're doing more than just knocking doors as well. So, and you're thrown into what was at that age, so I did a year of school and then went away. We went tree planting and then saved up, and then I went away for 2 years. And so the first 10 weeks of that trip, I think it was 10, is 9-hour days learning the language and then landing in the Philippines. And then we just went all over the country. And I went north with a group of people. So it was life-changing because it's also the amount of time that I was there. And so over time, that culture and that way of living really became normal for me. Mm-hmm. So that was a special experience. But now again, because I'm getting older and I'm always reminded of it, it feels like it's further and further in my memory to the point where, it's I think 20 years ago now that I was there. So that was special.
It's crazy how profoundly one trip can sort of change the direction of life or give you like new things that impact your decisions. Like travel is just, it's great. And I know I was at a place where I kind of figured, like if I have money, I'll just buy things, maybe not travel. And somebody that you both know, Dustin Iron, like he's one of my best friends, and yeah, he kind of got me traveling more and more.
Yeah.
And I was definitely out of my comfort zone quite often. Like when we went to Costa Rica and I could hardly order food. I mean, like,
Yeah,
we got her
different.
done.
Yeah.
It's culture shock. And I learned so much from that because being better in another country out of my comfort zone made me better in my own country out of my comfort zone. Because it wasn't long after that that I changed careers. Because I was like, well, heck, if I can order Costa Rica food, then I can do anything.
Run for president.
Yeah, totally. Continuing on the topic of travel, what was your most profound trip that you ever did?
Speaking of Costa Rica, well, I went on a surf party trip, I'll call it at this point of life, but I was there for like 3 months with some girlfriends, and some of it was solo, and that was the most profound trip, I would say, in terms of personal learning, because not for the reasons you would think, but because I realized a lot of things I don't want really at that young age. I think I was 20. But I realized how shallow at the end of the day partying and the pursuit of just fun and pleasure can be if you don't really have a purpose. And that was a huge lesson at a young age. And I think it takes some people a lot longer to feel that lesson. But I had some real lows at that time, and I thought, like, how can I be this low? I should be having the time of my life. But, you know, I learned what I don't want. And that was invaluable to me. So then I had to start asking some harder questions. Like, well, if I don't want that, if I don't just want to travel and party, then what do I want?
Yeah.
So it helped kickstart a lot of things for me.
Totally.
Yeah.
So something that I talk about a lot are like non-negotiables in life, and a lot of my guests have had some pretty good ones. And I'm curious to know, in any given week, what are 3 of each of your non-negotiables? We'll start with you first. Things that you just need to have in your week to make it flow in the most ideal way. And that can be family, that can be work, just whatever it is, but it always has to happen. Like, if it doesn't happen, things are thrown askew.
Yeah. 2 of my 3 revolve around family. It's like, for me, it's the center of absolutely everything. So if I don't feel like Graham and I have really connected daily, if not every other day for sure, but just really like where you're at emotionally connected with Graham, I feel really out of sorts.
Yeah.
And then same with my kids, like if I haven't just had some quality FaceTime with them, I'm thrown. So I guess I'm really relationship driven that way with my family. And then for sure exercise. So I feel like exercise really helps my mental health, get all that energy out. And so if I don't exercise, I feel really thrown as well. I think those are my 3.
Perfect. When's your favorite time of day to train yourself or to go and do a session?
Workout?
Yeah.
Midday. So if I try and go early, it just doesn't happen, or I have too many things on my mind that I sort of want to get out first. Midday is perfect because later than that I start to get tired. So I usually work out 10:45 or noon.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, Graham, your turn.
I'm the same as Jess on that first one. Actually, probably more than just the first one. But yeah, I really, I've always felt this too, but I really value being connected to Jess and the kids, and so, you know, if that's not happening, I feel off. And it's not to say that, you know, I can't be on a trip or go away for a week or so and be okay with it. You know, we purposely plan that stuff for both of us so that, because it's healthy. But I know that if we're in town and we're just kind of passing each other, you know, it just doesn't work for me. And then the other ones, exercise and movements is a really big deal, and it has been forever. And I just feel better. You know, I love to move, and you know, it doesn't have to be the same thing all the time, but it's generally, you know, I'm able to get nice and warm and feel good, and everything else follows. So that'd be number 2. And then, you know, nutrition would have to be 3. It's tricky because nutrition and sleep, it's like, well, which comes first? And sleep would, you know, I think more and more I would take sleep over everything, health-wise. But in a day-to-day, if I'm getting my sleep, if that's a I'm getting my 7 hours or close to every night. Nutrition in my preparation of food, and eating in a way that where again I just thrive, where I feel good, I feel energetic, is big. And with that is coffee.
Yeah.
Coffee's part of that too.
Yeah.
Nice.
So Graham
So-
did this like long fast a while back. And it was like, oh my God, you have so much time when you're
Yes.
not
Yeah,
prepping
all
food.
that
Like,
time.
what are you going to do with your day? Graham spends a lot of time with
Yeah.
food. So, yeah.
How many hours in the day would you say are dedicated towards preparing the food?
You know what? Oh, man, maybe 1,
Okay.
1.5. Well, 1, because
And then cleaning up.
yeah, the cleaning. My poor family, but like we have thankfully teenage daughters, and I just asked these 2 girls that I work for. They're 17. I asked them yesterday, "What kind of chores do you have?" One of them said, "The dishwasher." I said, "Well, good, yeah, because our kids start to empty the dishwasher more and more." But yeah, it's like generally my food prep is not. I'm not a like do it all on Sunday and for hours at a time. It's can I have some starches in the fridge, some sweet potato, some beets, some brown rice, some whatever prepared. Do I have some sources of protein, both plant and animal, and then some greens and a variety of stuff. So my food prep is quite dialed in, but I can just grab and go. And then I generally just, when I wake up, coffee goes on, and then prepare. I don't eat right away, but coffee will go on, and then I'll prepare a breakfast and a lunch and pack that out because I just I don't generally buy food out of the house.
Yeah.
I can't really leave the gym, and I wouldn't want to anyway for a couple of reasons. So, and then at night, it's wild. I've told a few old fire friends that we try to keep it really simple at night. We got so used to big productions around mealtime in the fire hall, which is nice. It was always really good food, but I find at night we share the cooking most of the time, and Jess is better than me, but I just try to keep it really simple. So there's not a whole ton of time there, but it is a nice time for us to just hang out, and if it's just one of us, it's pretty simple.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we're going to go to the very last question, but for a lot of people it takes some thinking. And I ask all of my guests this one, and it's always fun because I get to kind of compile them all together, and it's interesting to see the answers. The question is, if you were to give one piece of advice to someone on how to most authentically live their life to the fullest, what would it be? So we'll go first with you, Graham.
Oh man, I'm still learning that as I go. Well, I think a big part of that is being honest at all times, and when you can always come from that place, and just it's going to be easier to show up as yourself, and then I think you're going to naturally attract people into your life that are also probably into the same things you are, even if it's not on a little micro level. And then going back to the things that when things interest us, that's a good sign. So I'm taking down a whole lot of little paths of interest, and I just go with them and I explore them, and if it feels like it's forced or it's not for me, I don't keep pursuing it. So in my 20s, it looked different than my 40s. Now I don't really do anything I don't want to do. Every part of my day, I'm choosing to do it. I'm very happy to do it. I'm fortunate to surround myself with the people I want to surround myself with. In my health practices, not just training, but how I choose to live my life. It's stuff I've met people who have been into it, or I've been interested, so I've learned. And so this kind of picture of self that's always evolving, and this authentic self, I think starts with just being honest and listening.
I like it.
Things you're
That's
interested
good
in.
advice.
Yeah.
All right, your turn, Jessica.
I know mine because I say it regularly. Mine is like follow your heart, but take your brain with you. I feel like it's really trendy now to just be like, follow your passion, do this and that. But, following your passion can also come at the expense of some of your core values. If you can't, support your family for a time, or you can't, if I won't have the time for my family, sure, I can follow my passion, but at the end of the day, if it's going to lead me out of alignment with my values, then it's not going to work for me, right? So I think it's like following your gut or your passion, or where you're being guided to, but then also use your brain to go like, but how am I gonna make sure this works for what I really care about? So, follow your heart, but take your brain with you. Don't just throw caution to the wind, because there are some really important things you can lose along the way.
Totally.
And I am really optimistic, like Graham said, but I can also see how, we've been small business owners, and it's a lot of stress on a family or a relationship if you, say, financially can't make the ends meet, or you're having a lot of stress in your professional life. And so those are some things you can kind of temper if you use a little bit of brain work, and you can think through those things, because you never want to sacrifice the most important things to follow a passion. At the end of the day, I think you have to be really in tune with what's most important to you, and then make it work for that. So.
And it really makes sense when you align it with core values.
Yeah, always.
Because it makes it easier for people to hear, and then they can take the perspective of, it's not that you can't dream, but you just need to make sure everything's taken care of. So I like that. Yeah. The last thing I want to talk about, because I don't want to miss it, you have a rowing competition that you're doing, right?
Oh man, yeah. I'm
Good
exposed.
timing.
Yeah, I just actually this morning just let my closest of people let them know that I'm not doing it, because I hurt my back, and I hurt my back 15 days ago, really unexpectedly, but something went wrong. So it causes some reflection and questioning. A bunch of years ago, I used to deal with, actually dating back to that Philippines time, and then past that when we were racing triathlon, I used to deal with some back issues. And then over time, it flares up less and less, and usually I've made an error. So yeah, anyway, I was starting to feel really good, as we kind of do as we're getting close to a race, as the fitness is peaking. And I was doing a squat session. I lift twice a week, now. I don't CrossFit daily. For my health, I lift. Actually, the last while I've been lifting to be a stronger, faster rower. And so it was a fairly basic squat session, 5x5 with medium level weight. I went a little heavier than we had agreed on, and I was feeling like $1 million, and something in my back just went. So I have great care. I have a lot of love in my life, and I'm lucky. I've seen my chiro, who's known me for a long time. I have two great people, my masseuse and my physio, Alex and Amanda. And so it's slowly coming around, and then we have access to people that we, in the gym and stuff, just conversations. But unfortunately, I've had to pull the pin. So it's really devastating. It's on this, it might sound funny, but it's been the end of a 3-year block and a lot of prep. I've had a coach. It's been a magical experience. It's been a ton of fun to work through and prepare. And so when that happened, it's like, oh, okay, this will be 3-4 days and I'll be back. I'll be recovering. But now 2 weeks later, I realize it's something serious, and I have to respect that and hopefully learn. I was warmed up. I was nice, and I had spent 10 minutes on the assault bike. My glutes were a little tight that morning or that day. I'd done the things that I would recommend we do. I'd move sideways under tension. I'd rotated. I'd opened my hips up. I'd done all this stuff before I squatted. But something happened. So.
Yeah, it's a timely question, because Graham's kind of in the thick of it right now. It's hard to train for something so intensely for so long, and like I said, so focused.
Yeah.
And then have circumstances just not allow you to show up at the race.
You almost taste it, you can visualize it. I've felt it, I've seen it. The last couple of years have been really fun. We've traveled to Victoria and had a great time out there, and it's just been a really fun pursuit. I'm just interested in it, and I love what that does for our fitness, the intersect of power, strength and power and capacity. The places you can visit and go to, and you're really pushing yourself and learning about yourself. And so there's been a lot of magic. So it's just been flipped, and so now it's a new challenge. The new challenge is to heal in a healthy way and move on, and it's okay. Reassess, reflect.
If this happened to anybody else, because everybody has these pursuits in fitness, whether it be a max deadlift or they want to run a long distance. If they had done a similar journey, what advice would you give them to get them back on their feet?
That's a good question, because when I have my coaching hat on, which I do all the time for the most part, It's much easier from that point to approach it from a love yourself. It's okay. This event will be here next year. Look at all the work you've got, all the fitness you built up, the relationship you built with your coach. This is, it identifies a weakness that we can address or you can address. So that's all the stuff I would be saying. And, we always have people in our gym that are dealing with little tweaks and things and stuff pops up. And so we try to take care of them and stay in touch with them and check in on them. And, and then it also affects how we program, so, okay, well, maybe if we're seeing a couple of these in a row, maybe we need to include more of this in our program to prevent that kind of thing. So thankfully I have those voices in my head, and I can catch myself a lot of times when I start to go into a real kind of low spot where it's like, oh, how did this happen? What was me?
Mm-hmm.
So you'll hear me say, often it's like, guys, don't attach any meaning to this. So even today we're doing a 1K time trial in the gym. We're getting really prepared for it. 1K row, and it's a retest from 12 weeks ago or 10 weeks ago. And simply testing capacity in that domain going into the open. And if we had one person today that didn't do very well. So the message there is it doesn't mean anything. You tried, you learn, you move on. Don't attach anything more than that to it. So I'm trying to remember that for myself too. Don't attach anything to this.
Totally.
It's not a failure. It's not a loss. It's just a new challenge. That's all.
It's value.
It's value. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's tough though.
So it's tough.
Not to minimize it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that I got that into the podcast, not because of not being able to participate, but because of the lesson that it is for other people.
That's cool.
Just
it's
being
important.
able to see other people who work hard and life happens and they find value.
Yeah.
You've touched on social media. We often just see and we all have heard this stuff by now, but all the glory. So we just see people at their best, posting their best stuff that's gone through filters and everything. And I think it's important sometimes you start to really understand the further you go. I think that, those moments when they happen, they're really special because a lot of the process is the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And challenge is a good thing. And then it's how we respond to it. So, these conversations, for me to be totally vulnerable and honest, it's important because it's for my own healing. And it's also, other people can benefit from this too and seeing this.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This has been a good episode.
Cool.
I'll have to close it off, but I'm sure I'll see you two around sometime in the future.
Yeah, it's a small world. Hope so.
All right.
Thanks, Chris.
You bet.